It's been a rough year for James Gunn, especially since the release of his movie Superman, which ended up being a box office flop in spite of the mainstream media shills always trying to somehow spin it as a success. Because at the end of the day, the way a movie is determined as either a box office success or flop is very simple. If the movie made back its production and marketing budget during its theatrical run and even made a profit, that's considered a box office success. Now, if it didn't make back its money, it's considered a box office flop, and no matter how much the media tries to explain otherwise, it's simply not true. Now, one of the biggest talking points that we see from shills when they try to defend James Gunn's failure is that they mention that the Superman movie did end up making money on pay-per-view and streaming. But what they usually fail to mention is that other movies have that too. It still doesn't mean that they succeeded at the box office. And at the end of the day, a company like Warner Brothers didn't intend to release a big movie like Superman with the kind of marketing and production budgets that they had just for it to flounder around and not even break even at the box office. Superman was the type of movie they expected to make between $800 million to $1 billion, and once James Gunn didn't deliver that, his movie, at least internally, was considered something of a failure. Maybe not the biggest failure ever, but certainly not the success that they had hoped for. And now, amidst a Warner Brothers company sale, when James Gunn is in the hot seat with his job, he has to deal with a new crisis that happened just today when Forbes announced the budget for the upcoming Supergirl movie, putting James Gunn in a tight spot once again. Now, before we dive in here, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, or if you're new to my channel, please take a second to like and subscribe, as it would really help an independent entertainment news reporter like myself that tries to report things a lot more honestly than what we see in the mainstream media. Now, today Forbes released some kind of fluff piece article complimenting Supergirl actress Millie Alcock and telling you about what a great career she's had. I mean, honestly, she's only been in a few things, and I don't know that she's had such a great career, but beyond the usual kind of filler article that we expect from the mainstream media, there's one very interesting part of the article where they mention that the production budget for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the upcoming movie within James Gunn's DCU, is $200 million. Now, this is a movie that Gunn is producing. He's not the director of it, but it's still very much under his control and under his banner. So all eyes are to him. And really, within a short amount of time after this Forbes article came out, you had a lot of people on the internet starting to talk about this big budget, because if you think about it, Superman 2025 had supposedly a $225 million budget. I say supposedly because there's a lot of people out there that think that the budget was actually significantly higher. But if we go just by the regular mainstream reporting, it's $225 million. There are mainstream media reports even that say that the marketing budget was easily $150 to $200 million. And that's exactly why that movie is not considered a box office success. When it comes to Supergirl, $200 million is a lot of money to spend, and that means they're probably going to spend another $150 to $200 on marketing. So this is not going to be a cheap movie. It is once again going to be the type of movie that needs to make something between $800 million to $1 billion at the worldwide box office to even seemingly seem like a success. And interestingly enough, just as this article came out and a few people were chirping about it online, Gunn went to his favorite place, Threads, where he found a random person talking about this and answered that that budget isn't even a little bit true. But much like with Superman in the past, where Gunn was deflecting these type of articles, Gunn never corrects anybody and tells them what the actual budget is. I mean, if it's the wrong budget, why don't you tell us what the budget is? If you think this is a lie, give us a different number. He didn't do it with Superman. He didn't do it here. Just some vague statement. And considering how quick James Gunn was already online looking for some random person talking about it so he can make this statement, I can't help but feel that Gunn saw this and panicked, because he understands that he does not want any bad PR for himself now as this whole Warner Brothers sale is happening in the background, because his job is 100% in jeopardy right now. Now, I've said before that even a new owner, it'll take time before they take control of the company. You need regulators to approve. This thing is a process. And even if they come in and there's already these movies from James Gunn about to come out, I don't think that they're just going to cancel them on the spot. But at the same time, since James Gunn's contract ends at the end of 2026, if his movies are considered a failure upon the arrival of a new owner and management team, that would likely expedite Gunn's exit from Warner Brothers and won't even give him a hint of a chance to extend his agreement. Quite honestly, at this point, I would think that the only thing that against all odds could renew James Gunn's contract is if a movie like Supergirl suddenly made $1 billion, or at least something close to it. And I know that Warner Brothers are a bit queasy about this Supergirl movie. If you remember a while ago, it was said that they really pressured and lobbied for Jason Momoa to be more heavily featured in that movie. Now, to the press, there was a positive spin that the executives at Warner Brothers were so excited to see Jason Momoa, but I think that there was more to it than that, because if you think about it, Millie Alcock is not a household name and certainly not strong enough to carry a Supergirl movie on her own, so throwing in a guy that for Warner Brothers has already delivered results, including multiple movies that were box office hits for them, they see it as something of an insurance policy in hopes that it'll get a few more people in seats to see this movie. Ultimately, though, I don't know if any of that'll help. There was also another interesting thing that James Gunn also went and started answering random people about what Batman would look like and how a lot of people like his blue and gray suit. And if you ask me, that wasn't just a random reply either, because James Gunn knows that Matt Reeves is the one that got the green light for Batman, whereas his Batman for the DCU has been put on hold. So his way of dealing with that is that he's always talking about it as if he's trying to make a decision about this whole Batman situation, when in fact, I don't really think he's making decisions at all. I don't think that anybody will let him make that Batman movie at this point. Certainly not before we see that Matt Reeves movie that's supposed to come out in 2027, and who knows if even Gunn himself will be there then. And for those watching this video and saying, no, James Gunn is so transparent, he wants to go to threads and answer people, I have something to counter that with. If everything is so great, and James Gunn is so confident that everything is wonderful, why does he have to keep running to the media? Why does he have to keep activating all these shills and bumbling around and pivoting and saying all these weird excuses all the time? If everything is great, he wouldn't have to do any of that. When you're secure in your position, when you think everything's great and this is just some nonsense, you don't have to run to the computer and start answering a few random people on threads to try to counter a story. And notice, he didn't call Forbes, which he could have, to tell them that this number is wrong. He answered some random person online, meaning he's hesitant before he makes that call to Forbes, which says a lot. So yeah, I don't really trust that James Gunn just randomly wrote all this stuff. I feel like he absolutely knows that he is now in a tough spot. And if you want to keep getting these type of DCU updates, a lot of times before anybody else, please like and subscribe to this channel, as it would really mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. From